Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday. It's 8 a.m. Pacific today, but it's normally 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that when I say that? I mean that because I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take all of that, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Obviously, I'm on location right now, but when I'm in my office, in my studio, you guys see that American flag proudly flying behind me every single day. And I do that because A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. As you can see, I am live at the NMFTA Cybersecurity Conference, and I'm joined by my friend Steve today. So Steve, introduce yourself to the whole LinkedIn/YouTube world.
All right, we're live. My name is Steve Hankel. I'm the VP of IT for Johansson Transportation Service. I manage all of our technology, our software engineering group, our infrastructure, and also our cybersecurity.
I like it, man. You want to put the mic a little bit up? There we go. Yeah, we're all good now with that. It's, again, you guys, this is just the reality of when you start and do stuff. I mean, I don't do a ton of in-person interviews, but these things happen, right? So, Steve, what's the difference between IT and cybersecurity? Because I've heard that term thrown out a lot right now. Is there a distinct difference between your IT department and a cybersecurity department?
Yes, absolutely. So IT kind of takes over a whole umbrella of everything technology related, and it depends on the size of the company.
Yeah,
so we're a mid-sized brokerage firm, and so a lot of stuff gets put under my umbrella. Whereas a large company, there may be 27 different departments in technology that, and there may be 3 or 4 that deal in cybersecurity. So in my group, we have everyone wears multiple hats. We have someone in our someone in the engineering group that does DevOps, and he also may be responsible for the security on some of the platforms where we release our code to. We have our IT support manager who deals with a lot of our everything from desktop support to why doesn't my printer print to dealing with our network engineer vendors and things like that. And then he also deals with cybersecurity. And so we go to a lot of conferences because we don't have the time to have everybody focused on this 24 hours a day. So we kind of rotate people out to different cybersecurity conferences and things like that. But we have to just schedule it in. We have to schedule in our business continuity, our disaster recovery, our cyber resilience, along with all of the other things, patching servers, upgrading to Windows 11 or, things like that.
No, for sure. And, because from your perspective, you said you're a mid-sized brokerage, and, obviously a lot of my audience is, brokerages and trucking companies and, software companies and everything else. So it's like, what do you guys look at from the technical infrastructure of your company, and how are you guys protecting yourselves, right? Because it's like you guys have a TMS, you have load boards, you guys, maybe use a factoring company or whatever else, and you guys have a lot of other interfaces that you guys are integrated with your company. How are you looking at that as keeping your guys' technical infrastructure safe?
We are looking at multiple levels all of the time. It's a lot of people use the analogy, it's like an onion. Back in the old days, people would just put a firewall on their network and say, all right, I'm good. Or
that's what guilty.
Or we do backups. What else would I need to do? And especially with ransomware and a lot of that kind of stuff, we are literally looking at every different angle. A lot of it is talking to people at conferences like this. Attending conferences, finding out what should I be looking at, and it's a constant evolution. We've done data security audits. Then all of a sudden you have a list of things that you have to take care of, and then when do you get that done? It's all prioritizing these things. We do regular penetration tests on our network, and then you have another list of things to do. And so obviously you go through, and the most critical things you prioritize that. But we have, if you use Office 365, then you've got all this. The big keyword here this year is business email compromise.
Yes.
So then you have to look at, well, what is Office 365? Do they have any default things? Do they have anything available? So you look into that and you say, oh, they have these other layers of protection. Okay, let's look into that. Let's add this layer this year. Okay, it didn't blow anything up.
Yeah.
It didn't block any critical load emails or anything like that. So let's look at the next level. And we also use a lot of vendors. We have different vendors that provide us certain, regular resources. And then we say, okay, security wise, what do you offer, or what should we be doing that other people are doing, or maybe other people aren't doing it but should be doing it?
Yeah.
And so that's my job, to make sure that I'm up to date on a lot of that stuff. And it's a huge thing. I mean, especially at a large company, there may be a whole division devoted to that. And if you're at a mid-sized brokerage, or especially if you're at a small brokerage where you may have 3 or 4 IT guys, it's like, and it always kind of gets dumped on IT because, oh, well, we do backups. So what else do we need? You figure that out.
Yeah.
And so it's you kind of have to make the first step on that, and you also have to get executive management buy-in.
How do you do that? How do you get executive and management buy-in, right? Because it's like, the freight market is what it is, right? Like we all know, but if you've been an adult, you understand that things go up and things go down, right? But how do you sell that from your perspective to your executive team? Like, hey, this is necessary for our organization. Because again, if you bring a lot of stuff into a CFO, they look at the dollars and cents of things. Like, yes, they understand risk, and I understand that, but how do you present that to be like, this is an investment. This isn't an expense. This is an investment.
That's the key right there, is IT, cybersecurity. You have to convince them that this is not just a line item expense. This is an investment for the future. It also will protect us. It's also pretty good marketing wise too.
Yeah.
When you start dealing with customers, especially if you want to get big customers, they're going to say, well, what are you doing for cyber resilience? What are you doing for business continuity, disaster recovery, things like that? But I'm very fortunate that the owner of our company is very technology forward. He has seen through the years that a lot of our competition isn't around anymore because they did not jump on quick enough, or they did not take that into account. They're still using paper and moving things around and faxing things and that kind of stuff. And he's always willing to listen, and he's passed that around to the executives too. So a lot of my job is putting together presentations, putting together the data. And I'm really big, as a lot of people are in IT, facts and data. You can get all emotional and say, hey, we got to do this. But if you don't show them the numbers, that's a big thing right there. So a lot of it is doing that and making sure you have your information correct. Also giving examples of the industry. You can talk about, like recently we had Estes who had a ransomware attack. We also have Orbcom, one of the big ELD manufacturers that was hacked, and people had to go back to paper logs,
which I think some of the drivers prefer. But anyways, the different conversation.
Yeah. So that's really the key thing is spending a lot of time working with the executives. And then also you almost need kind of an internal PR plan to get people excited about it. So you kind of have to do, the hallway conversations with other managers and other key personnel that can help you sell the idea on that. And also, once you put in some of these measures, you may have logs and you may have data that can show people that, hey, look we just thwarted this attack and we thwarted this attack, and then the big thing is also education. It's educating your users on a constant basis. We have all sorts of different levels of protection for phishing emails, things like that. They still get through. They still get through. And, but I always feel so great when someone gets one of those and they pass it on to our IT support manager and they say, this doesn't quite look right. And then what he does is he doesn't forward that on. He'll take a picture of it and then send it out and say, this is an example of a bad email. Notice this, notice that. We have a thing that says this is from an external source. So if someone says, I'm manager so-and-so in accounting, you can start sending me money here. It'll say, from a third party company, things like that.
So how do you identify it? Like, I mean, I think we've all seen a phishing email. We've all seen something to that regard, but like, why do people click on them? Right? Like what is it that is so convincing that people will click on them still?
A lot of times it's they exhibit a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Like, you need to click on this right away. They may pretend that they are your boss or your boss's boss.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times, maybe it's a new person in the company, and they get an email from someone that says they're an executive of this, and can you please click on this and take care of this for me? And then they just freeze up and do it. And I've almost clicked on things before where it's like, oh yeah, what is this? And then, whoa, no, don't do that. I've seen
damn Nigerian prince.
Yes.
Every time.
I know.
Gets me.
Yeah, and I've seen. I was working on a place one time where somebody got an email that said, "Sorry for your loss. Here's the obituary, and then they kind of cut off, and they're like, "Oh, geez," and they click on it, and then all of a sudden, all these things start popping up and everything, and this guy dove on the floor and just unplugged his computer.
Yeah,
because those are the things. But what you can do to kind of be a little more cautious is, first of all, there's never an email really that you have to act on within seconds.
Yeah. It's funny you said that, because I was interviewing Chloe with Peninsula yesterday, and she said the same thing. And when I hear that, it's like, because as a sales rep myself, speed is everything in this game, right? So it's like when you're out there selling, when you're out there trying to build your book of business, I got to get quotes, I got to respond right away. So it's like, when I hear that, I'm starting to think like, all right, maybe emotional, take a step back, make sure, especially if it's from somebody new or somebody maybe I just started soliciting their business and everything else.
That is a good point, because in our industry, if there's a 3-second hiccup on your email, people are like, "What's going on? This thing's broken."
That, and you might lose out on a shipment.
Yes. If you don't respond and someone else does right before you, they've got the load, and you do that enough times, and you're losing money. So that's so one of the things we tell our users, our employees, is first of all, hover over the from to see where it's actually from. If it says 5693888@gmail.com, probably not.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. But the problem is, there's a lot of there's some shippers, and there's a lot of carriers that actually use Gmail, and actually they may have freight carrier 1 2 3 4 5.
Yeah.
And so worst case scenario, call the person from a different, not from the number that's in the email, but maybe call from a different source.
Yeah.
Or especially, with a lot of the stuff going on with double brokering and things like that, we're very cautious up until a carrier does at least 5 loads or more, to make sure that they are legitimate. So there's multiple reasons why you want to vet these carriers. We have a fantastic carrier relations group that a lot of all the new carrier setups go through.
Yeah.
And they eye everything with a fine-tooth comb. They look up all the safety insurance, all of that kind of stuff to make sure they're valid. That's just another thing that they're looking at as well. Is this a valid email? And then they also will communicate, hold on, this is a bad actor. Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Don't do anything if you get an email from this email address. And then we also will have our IT support manager block a lot of those domains or emails so that nobody else will accidentally get that email and click.
I got that. I get blocked a lot from a lot of my prospects because it says logistics in my email. So I know what you mean by all the security settings. Shippers, please stop. No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of my audience are drivers, and they might have newer authority and everything else. What, from your perspective, when you're talking about identity theft and fraud, what can they do to show that they're valid, right? Like to show like, hey, this is a real company, because I've bootstrapped all of my businesses, right?
Yeah.
I understand the need to look at every dollar you're sending out. From my perspective, buying a G Suites and having a G Suites account and buying a web domain is the best investment you can make from a business, because there is that validity standpoint. From your perspective, though, what can some of these drivers out there do to be like, hey, that I'm real, like, please, this is a real business?
Yeah, that's what you mentioned is actually very good, because me as a IT person and even cybersecurity, the first thing when I see Gmail, it's like, why today?
Mm-hmm.
Why would anybody just set up a Gmail account with some random name at gmail.com and and start doing business. But, to the average driver or average person, really, that doesn't have any IT background or anything, all of that is a big thing. Web and email and, where do I begin and who can I trust to set this up for me and that kind of thing. A lot of times, you just have to go back to the old fashioned, pick up the phone and call them and provide some references and do it that way. We have a lot of, drivers and carriers that, aren't these giant companies.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because that's the thing. 95% of the drivers out there are small business, right? And it's like, I see a lot, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with this or anything, but like I see a lot of stuff out there that prohibits newer carriers from doing business, and nobody is providing a solution of what they can do to not, I don't want to say circumvent because that's the wrong word, but like what can they do to navigate through as an early business to show that I'm real, right? Because it's like, and I see both sides. Like I truly do as a broker, and then as a business owner myself. I see both sides and why people have these things in place. Like I'm out here trying to make it just like everybody else, but it's like, I feel like if we're going to have these requirements for drivers, there should be something that says, hey, this is what you need to do to like show that you're legit. And for any driver out there that hears that thinks that they shouldn't do it, try and apply for financing. All right. You need to show that you're a real business before you can get financing. It's part of it. And but that's just where I want to see things go, is like, hey, I understand the need for added security, but what can these guys what can these drivers do to show that they're real?
Well, I know a lot of companies, ours as well, we have a carrier relations customer service that handles all that. I mean, we deal with thousands and thousands of carriers, and that's the first thing we do is that they'll call up or email, and we'll get them on the phone, and the carrier relations group that's their job to vet them. They'll go through and, okay, what's your MC know? Is this a valid one? Insurance. I don't know all the other details, but that, they put them through the rigmarole and they make sure that they're valid. And then we also have the other precautions once we start using them, watch them really closely over the, the first however many loads, it depends on the company, but that's their way in. And then obviously once you get a load, you're busting your butt to do the best you can and then over time you become one of our preferred carriers, or someone that, hey, I know this person does a great job. But I think that's really it. I don't think there's any technological answer,
for sure,
because
but again,
I don't know the number, but there's a lot of our carriers have a Gmail and all that kind of stuff.
You're providing more information in that minute response than any other company has put out there.
Oh, really?
Right? Because it's again, like I talk to a lot of people in this industry. I talk to a lot of tech companies. I talk to drivers. I talk to everybody involved in transportation. And again, I get the need for added security, right? Like I think anybody out there wants to make sure that my identity is safe if I'm signing up with your company or another company, right? I think that's pretty fair. But again, if there's going to be added requirements to do business with people, maybe provide a solution for some of these individuals that are out there, because contrary to what the internet tells all of you, there's no playbook to entrepreneurship. All right. There's no follow these 10 steps. There's a lot of hurdles you need to jump through. And again, if there's going to be one, you got to provide solutions to a lot of this stuff. So I appreciate you breaking that down for people of like, hey, at least try this. And, again, because you guys move a lot of freight, and that's, but to me, Steve, that's going to make more carriers want to haul your guys' freight, is the ease ability to work with, right? Like we can't build up all these pun intended firewalls for people, we need to actually make it easier to work with us, because again, I'm still waiting for that broker who can come to me with a business plan that shows how they make money without trucks. Still waiting for it, because a lot of people love to say how they hate drivers, but can't find a way to make money without them for some reason.
And we deal with carriers, trucking companies on all different levels. We still have drivers, trucking companies that walk into our office and get a check.
I love it.
We have carriers that don't want to be set up through our online portal. We will walk them through the setup, talk them through it. Say we need this document, we need that document. That's what we try to do. We try to make it. We also make sure that we pay our carriers very quickly. We want to be known as, oh yeah, I want to do business with them, because they're paying us really quickly on time. I love it, So it's not necessarily a technological problem, but A lot of it is just plain old-fashioned customer service. You know,
Yeah.
are you talking to a robot when you call? Or are you talking to a live voice that's going to
That's
say,
true.
"Hey, how you doing? My
Yeah.
name's Frank. What can I do for you today?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears a little bit here with added tech vendors that are out there, because everyone's got a product to make your life easier in transportation now, whether it's a load board or carrier vetting software or somebody's got something for you. How do you vet those potential providers from a cybersecurity or a tech infrastructure standpoint to ensure that they actually have stuff in place that keeps your company's data and your customers' data safe? Because again, these transactions go through multiple things: your driver's information, your customer's information, all of that is out there. How would you go about that?
It's a lengthy process. We take a very slow approach. And I know a lot of times we get excited about a new technology and we want to jump on it really quickly, but it is a very slow process. There's also the customer service. For me, customer service is the first thing too. I mean, if they're not going to be able to respond when there's an issue, then they're sure not going to be able to respond when there's a cybersecurity threat or anything like that. So that's what we do. I could really care less a lot of times, talking to all the salespeople. I'm like, give me a tech engineer, give me a software engineer.
I love that.
They will tell you the truth. A lot of times and no offense to you vendors out there, we have a lot of really great relationships with tech vendors. We have lots of tech vendors we use, but I want to go past that. I'll have a relationship with the salesperson and get to know them and their product and everything, but they don't know 80% of what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I want to talk to a software engineer that's the one on the front lines that is dealing with the issues, and they're a lot of times they're like, oh yeah, this particular thing has never worked. They'll kind of tell you the real honest answers, because they take a lot of pride in what they do. I mean, everybody does, but but the technological wise, and so I'll bring in different people from my team, and we'll have a lot of different meetings with them. And once we get through all the technological pieces of it, then we start talking about security wise. Okay, what are you doing? And you can tell pretty quickly if they're just kind of throwing this thing up overnight, because their primary concern obviously is to get it to work. But cybersecurity is always an afterthought, or a lot of times. I can't speak for everyone, but for us, we're looking at, does this work? Okay, now we're going to take you to the next stage. What are you doing cybersecurity wise? What are my options if I want to go above and beyond what the average person does?
Yeah.
Because that's what I want to know. When we moved to the cloud, that was my first thing is, okay, what about security? I don't want this level of firewall. I want the best, and I want this, and constantly. So the thing that helps out is my contacts know that our company's big on cybersecurity. So when they do get a new tool or they do get a new product, security, cyber resilient wise, they know to bring it to me first.
Yeah.
And we'll even beta test some of the stuff to, put it in our test environment and kind of look at it and say, oh, okay. And it always excites me when a lot of our vendors are proactive like that. We'll have something that's kind of been on our list, like, oh, I really wish you guys would encrypt this kind of traffic. I know there's not really any data in there that's that big a deal, but hey, if you're encrypting this, why don't you encrypt this? And then they'll say, hey, Steve, guess what? We got this new product, and we can add it on there and encrypt it for you. And I'm like, oh, great, sign me up. Let's check it out.
So for the everyday person, or maybe the small company, they don't have an IT department. They don't have anything. It's just like my business. There's a couple of us. There's me and my co-founder, and that's it.
Yeah.
Or maybe they got a couple of sales reps, and they're looking to onboard a new provider from whatever it is. What are some questions that I could ask some of these companies to identify that my stuff's going to be safe?
That's a good question, because a lot of times they'll possibly try to snowball you or say, oh, you can rest assured, Mr. Jolly, that we use the best of the best security. And so a lot of times you may need to employ a consultant to help you with that.
Gotcha.
Or even at conferences like this,
a
lot of the conferences in our industry, you start talking to enough people, you can say, you can talk to them and they'll translate it for you. So they'll say, these are the things that you need to do when you're looking at this company. And some people will help you out. But yeah, a lot of it is just also getting the references.
Yeah.
I always get lots of references.
Okay.
And yeah, they'll give you the references of their happy customers.
Yeah.
For the most part. But you talk to them enough, and they'll give you the scoop.
For sure.
But yeah, it is difficult. A lot of I know a lot of people that kind of get thrown into dealing with the IT consultants at companies, and it can be a real mess because you don't know what's more serious than something else. A lot of it's trust too,
Yeah.
and it may be a slow relationship you have to build to gain their trust in steps, and then once you have their trust, take it a little further, and then go from there.
Yeah, because I think from my perspective, Steve, that's like a growing area of concern. Like full transparency, I have a business partner in a tech company who would probably gladly jump on any call to poke and prod a lot, but not everybody has a Kyle like I do, or a couple of my other friends who build computers for fun, nerds. No, I'm just kidding. But they are my buddies they know who they are.
Yeah.
But my thing is though, is not everybody has that resource. Not everybody has that person. And then again, this is like, if you got to reach out to a consultant, do they have your best interest in mind, or are they just doing it to bill you out a couple hours? And, so again, I think I got to prop up. This is why you got to come to shows like this, right? You got to step out of your comfort zone, even TIAs, Technovations, and meet some of these people that are there who are not exhibiting per se, but that are there talking on some of these panels, about some of these topics, because again, you don't want to, this isn't going to eliminate a lot of the stuff, but you need to be able to understand what people are talking about, because it's not as much of oh, hey, use our product, then all your identity's safe. Okay, but what does that actually mean? How do I actually ensure that what you're selling me is real?
No, that's a good point. No matter who you're listening to, you still need to do enough research on your own so that you kind of understand what they're going for. I mean, I've been in technology for over 25 years. And I mean, there's a lot of things I deal with all the time that I don't understand all the little fine details, and I'll bring in some of my other engineers. But a lot of times we'll just have to do a lot of our own research and look into it. And even if you're not technical, over time you get exposure enough to some of that stuff. You know what the product should be doing.
Yeah.
And you can get evidence to show whether that product's doing that. And then once you start to trust that company or group or consultant, then you can kind of go from there. And we've fired a lot of consultants, and we use lots of vendors for consulting on different issues. And the ones that we keep, we're very big on personal relationships. And once we have a good relationship, you're going to work with us for a very long time, because we can trust you, you can trust us, and you just kind of go from there.
I feel like that's how most businesses should operate, right? From that perspective is, again, and I always use myself as an example. You got to stop thinking about the transaction. You have to start thinking about the long term.
Yes.
And if you deliver that, because you should be able to call on your tech partners that are out there and be like, hey, I'm looking to onboard this. What are your guys' thoughts? And have them shoot you straight, right? Because I'm a sucker for good service, just like anybody is. And I'll work with people till the end of time. I don't even care if somebody comes in with a cheaper product or whatever. If I'm with you, I'm with you. I'm very loyal from that. I still go to the same gas station every week. That's how loyal I am, because I like the clerk, and I go in because the receipt machine is still broken at the pay at the pump, but I like going because the lady's nice when I go in there. So I keep going back from that perspective. And I feel like a lot of people like that are like that out there. They just want good service. And again, it's like, if you're a service provider out there, deliver that time and time again, and then people become your customer for life, and then they build up that loyalty. But we're out of time already. That was that happens a lot when we sit down and talk, because I just from my perspective, Steve, I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, but I don't know a lot about one thing, and this is one of those things here at the Digital Solutions Conference that I don't know I know very little about, and I love learning. I love sitting and talking to individuals like yourself. How does anybody, if they have any questions, how do they reach out to you to find out more, if you'd be willing to give out something like that?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just look up Steve Hankel, and I have a lot of people on LinkedIn that I collaborate with and talk to, and a lot of people follow me, and I follow a lot of other people. And I'm always happy to answer questions if I can.
Yep.
Sometimes it's hard to weed through a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I'm always happy to give people help and everything, and just give my opinion. It may not be the best opinion, but it's an opinion. It can help you. I go to these conferences and I talk about what's helped me, over the years at working at different companies in cyber resilience and that kind of stuff. Always love to talk to people, chat with them, and point them in the right direction.
Perfect. I love it. That's going to be it for today, you guys. The Freight Coach Morning Show. We are the top podcast in transportation. We're live from the last day of the Digital Solutions Conference. Why can't I say solutions? We're live from the Digital Solutions Conference here in Houston, Texas. You guys hit them up, the NMFTA. Learn more about it. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard here today, subscribe to the show, share it out there to your network. That's how we're number one. That's how we continue to grow, is because if you see value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. And now I'm going to end the stream on my fancy high-tech stream show here. And